The average person who doesn't invest, they keep their savings in the bank, and they are relying on a pension fund to keep them solvent in their retirement, will be shocked the day they are notified their pension fund is insolvent and needs to be cut back. There is simply no other solution to the problem that they personally created. I hope you're ready. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to cover the pension fund situation in Connecticut and Illinois. Let's begin. Illinois state pension debt jumps to $130 billion. This is the unfunded liabilities of the 5 state pension funds, and guess what? They have continued to increase year after year after year. As I show you this information as the years go on, it only gets worse. The trouble is that they are now starting to talk about cutting back. In the event of turmoil, these governments will have to cut back on their pension funds. We have seen the governor of California saying this very thing. I've talked about it here on this channel before, and many people are not prepared. You can see what has happened. With all of the stocks rising since March 2009, the 7-year asset class real return forecasts are dismal. 6.5% long-term historical U.S. equity return, it's nowhere near that. You could see that it is unbelievably diminished in terms of their returns. Meanwhile, stocks have continued to rise. If you just took the general basket of different stocks out there, blue chip stocks, you would be able to have a good performance. Perhaps not selecting the few best performers, just in general. The market has risen considerably. Even stocks that you would argue perhaps should not have risen anywhere near the rate at which they did. But here we are. And yet, somehow, in these portfolios held by all of these different pension funds, they didn't seem to do very good at all. The money is being siphoned away from the public. And that is very clear right here with the pension funds. Now, there's a lot to cover in this article. I will do it very quickly and concisely. This is about Connecticut specifically, and you will see that their situation will get very worse very, very quickly. Connecticut mayors grappling with rising retirement costs and sinking economies this week issued a distress signal to lawmakers in Hartford. Save us from our public unions. The state would be in a stronger position if we don't negotiate for benefits. All right? It's going to get very bad, and you'll see why. The Conference of Municipalities implored the state to end collective bargaining for pensions and healthcare benefits, as well as to limit binding arbitration when unions and local politicians deadlock during contract negotiations. Usually the unions end up getting the sweet deal. We're suggesting it's very difficult in the state of Connecticut under the current labor agreements and under the binding arbitration. His town's healthcare and benefit costs and pension costs make up 30% of the budget. Last year, they tried to close the state's $3.5 billion deficit by shifting the teachers' pension costs to municipalities. It's going to, of course, lead to property tax hikes. Nobody wants that. And unfortunately, that's really the only solution. Either cut or raise the taxes somehow else. The legislature punted some pension payments to the future, but mayors are worried that they will eventually be required to pick up more of the bill. And of course they will. They will have to, or they will simply cut back. Are you ready for the cutbacks? That's because state lawmakers have little flexibility to cut spending. They ended the collective bargaining agreements. Look at this. Tax revenues have been declining. Why though? Why? Amid a sluggish economy and retirement costs are soaring. I was told many times, You can read the comments on any of my videos. You can look at the mainstream media, and you can see the politicians on television telling you that the economy is doing well. Yet we are seeing here that they say the pension funds are suffering because of a sluggish economy. Which one is it? About 35% of the state's revenues go to debt service and retirement obligations. Connecticut's annual teacher pension contribution is projected to quadruple by 2032. There's no way that these could ever keep up with the amount that people are pulling out. It's a Ponzi scheme, and it isn't really being looked at and addressed accordingly. All right, moving on quickly. This is a city, the cities that you can look at around, and you will be able to recognize which ones are in the worst condition. The color here, the darker color, is the one that is in the more critical situation. You could see for yourself if you're interested. Looking at this cash solvency index, different areas of the U.S., Connecticut and Illinois in this particular case are in the worst of situations. There are others here. If you're interested, again, you can look at that for yourself. Net unfunded pension liabilities. You're noticing that in terms of dollar amount, California is definitely in the lead, but not far behind is Illinois. So it depends how you want to look at it. The overall total dollar value, you can look at it on different ways, but essentially we have a very serious situation no matter where you're looking. They can't pay back. And in the end, the only way out is to tell everybody that I know we promised you a certain amount, but we're going to have to give you less. And they might just do 5% at the beginning, because ultimately 5% people are willing to accept it. But maybe there'll be a 10% or a 15 or a 20. And unfortunately, in the long term, people are not going to get what they need. They've been paying into that system. You might think that, you know what, this shouldn't exist, so too bad for them. But people are waiting for this moment. They've been putting into the system, they've picked their retirement, now they're retired, and now all of a sudden, oops, not going to get your money. Or what if they're just about to retire? Maybe next year is their retirement, they're ready to go, they've planned everything, they're going to head to the nice sunny beach for the winter time, they've got it all ready to go, but unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse. If the California governor is willing to admit that the next recession they will have to cut back, they will all do this. They will have to. The end result is not pretty. If you look at the back of my more recent book, Global Economic Collapse, I wrote this, and it's essentially a quote from the book. Soon the earth will rumble under the heels of the angry mobs. There will be a critical situation that occurs that will bring this to light. The people, if they're starving, if they're desperate, they will riot, they will protest, and they will engage in activities that normally they never would. But look at what's happening in Venezuela. Look at what happened in Greece. Look around the world, and you see when people are in trouble, they act erratically, they act violently, and this will spread. It's a very precarious situation that people are put into right now. They're not prepared. And that's why I've made it my mission to help people to be knowledgeable about these situations. If you want to know some ways to protect yourself, of course you need to be fully diversified in the things that you hold. If you only have $100, you should make sure that that $100 is diversified. Don't keep it in cash under your mattress. There are many things you can do. Of course, I have my books, but if you want free information, you can get my free e-course on my website, themoneygps.com. There's a simple website. Click on the free e-course link. You can watch all of those. Tons of videos that are in there, and I consistently add to it. And then you can also check out my playlist on YouTube that's called How to End Solutions. So I have some things in there that you may be interested as well. So between the two of those, That should help you out. Won't cost you a dime. You can check it out for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's about 83,000 people on here, and it's growing as we grow on to 100,000. Thank you all for joining me here. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. Check them out. You can flip through them at the links in the description of this video. Take care.